What is up, you guys? Dylan here. This is going to be part 3 of the PowerDNS series and videos of tutorials. So let's get started. We were pending, you could say, on the checking out the front end for PowerDNS, which is PowerDNS admin, and seeing how it works and the capabilities and functionalities that it can offer us. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is how to do the basic stuff, like adding a zone. If you didn't watch the previous episode, it's really simple. I'm going to go ahead and delete this zone right here, test.com, and recreate it so that you can check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. There we go, zone deleted. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, go here, new domain, test.com, and then I'm going to do native for the type, since we only have one DNS server, and then start of authority, edit API, I'm going to leave it on default. You can set it to epoch or increase, whatever you like, and feels more more suited to your needs, but it's a really basic setting, and it's not really that important. So once we have created the zone, you've got a few things you can do here. You've got you can change the admin settings of the domain. You can manage it, for example. So if we go here, the admin settings, you can change the ACL, basically the access control to that domain. So if you want to register users that can manage that domain without being administrators, you can do it. And you can add, for example, automatic reverse pointer creation, and it has also compatibility with DNS. Now, if we go back here to the domain, you're going to see obviously that when you create a zone, it has no records in it. So if you wanted to create a record for your root zone, what you would have to do is put in the name @ which is the identifier for the root zone, and then you're going to put the record type, of course, that you want, and the status is going to be active. And generally, if it's a record that is being tested, then you can leave it at 1 minute, but then you want to switch it to probably 60 minutes or 24 hours. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the data that you want in this case. So it's going to be an IP. So let's put for example, the DNS IP. So we're going to do that there, and then you can hit apply changes, and then you're going to have a root a record for your zone. So if we go here to our WSL and we do dig test.com at 10.10.10.24, you're going to see that it responds with this. Now, you can add a bunch of other types of records. You can also add, for example, TXT records if you need SPF records. So, for example, let's go ahead and test a TXT record, or actually, let's test an SPF. Interesting. So this is something new that was not available before, the SPF type. Usually you would add the SPF as a TXT, but let's try, for example, an SPF. So v SPF1 MXA IP4, let's say 10.10.10.24 and all, for example. And then if you hit save, you're going to get this SPF right there, and you hit apply changes. And so if we go here and dig test.com txt at 10.10.10.24, you're going to see that you get the SPF that you just added. So this is really straightforward. If you want to add, for example, for a subdomain, let's say sub.test.com, you can just go ahead and do this, for example. And if we do a dig of sub.test.com, you're going to get that IP that you just put in. So it's super straightforward. If you've used any other DNS server services, it's super straightforward, very simple to use, and you can add stuff really quickly. You also have a changelog, so as you can see, you can check what has been added, what has been deleted, which is super useful if you have a lot of users in your domain name server. You can also, of course, enable DNSSEC here, but it depends on what kind of domain you have. Usually it only works with .com or .net domains. I think it depends on the provider, really, on which ones it works. And you also can clone your domain to a template. So that is also that. You also have your reverse zones right here and your IPv6 zones right here. Also, if you want to check your PowerDNS settings and info, you can go here to your PowerDNS section, and you can check the IO weight, the cache inserts, etc. You also have all the settings from the PowerDNS config file. So if you wanted to check that, you can go here, and you'll be able to see all the settings on the server. You are not, however, able to change any of these settings. What is cool, though, is that if you click on a setting, it will take you to the documentation site for PowerDNS. Now, you've got all these settings here, but they're mostly default, so I'm not going to bother checking them. You can also go here to global search, and you can search for any strings that you might want to, any strings or IPs that you might want to search for. You've got the history, which is very similar, but you can filter by activity, by account, and by user authentication, which is pretty useful. And then you've got the domain templates, which is pretty much the same as a standard domain, but it is a template, so you can create a new zone from that template, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Then you've got accounts, so you can add users from here without them having to register if you wanted to. You also have, well, of course, the user section right here, where you can see your users, change their roles, revoke privileges, or give them, etc. And then you've got the API keys section, where you can give an API key to a user with certain access control. And then you have the settings tab, which has all the basic PowerDNS admin settings right here. So you can change, for example, auto pointer. You can set it to on. You can add some custom CSS in case you wanted to, I don't know, change colors, for example, or things like that. You can enable avatars with Gravatar enabled. You can set, for example, your system to your PowerDNS server to log you in to LDAP authentication first, and then onto the local database if that is not available. It's usually turned on by default. You can set it to maintenance mode. You can force TOTP for two-factor authentication, for example. You can change the timeout settings, etc. So it's really, really versatile. It has quite a few settings, and then you can, of course, go to your PowerDNS settings, change your API key, your URL, and your DNS version. In this case, which is wrong from the last tutorial, I never changed it, but this is 480. You can also go to your authentication part, and you can authenticate with a lot of different services with LDAP. For example, if you have an Active Directory or if you have an open LDAP server, it works really well. We have a Samba LDAP, so that also works, and I can tell you that by experience. Google OAuth works, so that is really nice. You got GitHub, Microsoft, and OpenID Connect authentication systems as well. And you can change whether you want people to be able to self-register or not, which is also a nice option. I think as far as PowerDNS admin goes, I think those are mostly all the options. that I've seen that are important, that are useful, that I can show you and explain to you that you might not. Mostly the domain root identifier part is the complicated part, but it's all pretty straightforward and simple to use. So really huge kudos to the guys that did this application. So yeah, I hope this series of tutorials and videos was useful for you. And if anyone out there asks for a Let's Encrypt integration tutorial or LDAP integration tutorial, then I can definitely do that in the future. But in the meantime, this is going to be the conclusion of this sort of series. So yeah, I hope it was useful for you, and have a great day.